It's a derogatory racial remark that has divided people for many years.
And a J. Edgar Hoover elementary teacher has now been suspended over calling a student the N-word. Stacey Renee investigates what happened and why.
And what did he say specifically to you?
He said, "Sit down, nigga."
Riley Freeman is a third-grade student at J. Edgar Hoover Elementary School. He's a basketball player, an avid reader, and one day hopes to spread his philosophy through rap music. He was in class when he had a verbal exchange with his teacher, Joe Petto. But Mr. Petto said it was Riley who used the N-word first.
So I told him to take his seat, and here comes this barrage of insults. I mean, some of the words I've never even heard before, and I was just stunned. And I said, "Well, sit down, nigga." I just repeated the insult back to him because that's what I've been trained to do.
That is not what he's been trained to do.
School Superintendent Donald Richards says all teachers are taught to use appropriate hyphenated euphemisms instead of racial slurs.
Language is a powerful tool, one that shapes society's perceptions, influences interactions, and conveys cultural identity. Few words hold the kind of weight and history that the N-word carries. Rooted in centuries of oppression, slavery, and degradation, this word is a symbol of the pain and suffering endured by Black Americans. Yet the N-word remains a term that is both fiercely controversial and at times embraced by the very community it once sought to demean. In the Boondocks episode, The S-Word, the word itself is scrutinized, its historical baggage analyzed, and its modern usage dissected. This opening chapter sets the stage for an exploration of how the N-word continues to echo through African American culture, media, and the larger society. The episode begins with a seemingly straightforward situation. A third-grade teacher, Joe Petto, is suspended for calling Riley Freeman the N-word. At first glance, it appears to be a simple case of racial misconduct, but the Boondocks immediately complicates the issue. The word itself is not just an epithet, but a battleground for debates about ownership, history, and identity. The opening scene sets the tone for the rest of the episode, immediately signaling that the issue at hand is more complex than a teacher's use of an offensive word. The word itself becomes a symbol of a larger cultural conversation about race and power.
We have a very strict policy against teachers using the N-word or any other racially insensitive words. The district's policy is that teachers should always say N-word instead of the actual N-word, or S-word instead of saying the actual S-word.
What is the S-word?
Well, I don't want to say it, but...
Spick?
No. Spear chucker.
Spear chucker?
Yes. See, we would encourage our teachers to say S-word instead of spear chucker.
And how often do you have a problem with faculty saying spear chucker to students?
We don't. That's what I'm saying. They would say S-word.
The news report about Petto's suspension introduces a crucial element, the legal and social ramifications of using the word. On the surface, the suspension seems like a clear-cut consequence for racial insensitivity, but the story soon becomes more muddled. Enter Robert Freeman, Granddad, who sees this incident not as an opportunity for cultural reflection, but as a chance to make money. Granddad's perspective highlights a recurring theme in the Boondocks, the commodification of Black pain. His desire to sue for restitution represents a broader critique of how racial injustices are often reduced to transactions rather than genuine attempts at healing or understanding. Granddad's perspective contrasts sharply with the philosophy of his grandson, Huey Freeman. Huey, the revolutionary intellectual, recognizes that the issue isn't about money, it's about the legacy of the word and its cultural significance. Huey's voice of reason challenges the conventional wisdom of his time, which often reduces issues of racial justice to legal settlements or financial compensation. Huey understands that the N-word and all its variations is more than just a racial slur, it is a symbol of the ongoing struggle for identity and equality. This dynamic sets the stage for a deeper exploration of the N-word's significance within African American culture. The episode invites viewers to question the complexities of language and its power to either divide or unite. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that the Boondocks is not merely concerned with a single incident of racial insensitivity. Rather, it is asking broader questions about how society understands, uses, and manipulates language. By focusing on the N-word, the show delves into the ongoing struggle over cultural ownership and the ways in which language can either reinforce or challenge societal power structures. The debate over the N-word also reflects the shifting attitudes within African American communities themselves. Over the years, the word has evolved from a symbol of oppression to one of reclamation, with some Black individuals using it as a term of endearment or empowerment. However, the word's painful history cannot be easily erased, and its usage remains controversial. This complexity is reflected in the episode's portrayal of Riley, who casually uses the N-word without understanding the weight of its history. Riley's casual approach to the word contrasts sharply with the deep reflection that Huey brings to the discussion. At the heart of this conflict is the question of who gets to use the N-word and why. The Boondocks explores the tension between different generations and perspectives on race. While Granddad seeks financial restitution for the offense, Huey wants to use the opportunity to spark a larger conversation about race, power, and identity. This generational divide is emblematic of the broader cultural conversation about the N-word, one that pits the desire for personal gain against the need for collective healing and understanding. The word is not just a slur, it is a reflection of centuries of racialized history. For those who have historically used it to degrade, it is a tool of oppression. For those who have reclaimed it, it can be a symbol of resistance and survival. This duality is at the core of the Boondocks' exploration of the N-word. The episode challenges viewers to reconsider their own understanding of the word, its history, and its implications for contemporary race relations. Throughout the episode, the show uses humor and satire to approach serious issues of race, identity, and language. By framing the debate over the N-word within the context of a legal battle, the Boondocks invites viewers to reflect on the absurdity of turning cultural battles into business transactions. The satire sharpens the episode's critique of society's tendency to reduce complex cultural issues to commodified struggles. As the episode progresses, it becomes clear that the Boondocks is not just making a statement about one word or one incident. It is making a statement about how language, power, and identity intersect in contemporary society. The word, with all its complexities, serves as a lens through which we can examine the broader social and cultural dynamics at play. The episode's title, TheSWord, hints at the sensitivity of the issue, but also positions the word itself as a central character in this ongoing cultural debate. As Granddad embarks on his quest for restitution, the episode begins to interrogate the motives behind his actions. Granddad's desire to sue Joe Petto is not grounded in a deep commitment to social justice or racial equity. Rather, his pursuit of legal action is rooted in his desire to capitalize on the situation. For Granddad, this isn't about healing racial wounds or engaging in a meaningful dialogue about the N-word's cultural significance. It's about getting paid. This focus on financial compensation over genuine reflection or activism is a recurring theme throughout the Boondocks. Granddad's pursuit of a lawsuit speaks to a larger issue within the Black community, a tendency to seek reparation or restitution without addressing the root causes of racial injustice. Throughout history, there has been a strong desire for financial compensation for past wrongs, but this desire for monetary restitution often fails to address the deeper systemic issues of racism and inequality. By framing Granddad's actions in this way, the Boondocks critiques the idea that financial compensation can ever truly resolve the complex issues of racial injustice. The episode positions the lawsuit as a symbol of the ways in which racial conflicts are often commodified. In the real world, racial injustice is frequently reduced to legal battles and financial settlements. This framing exposes the absurdity of seeking justice through a legal system that is itself often complicit in perpetuating inequality. The lawsuit, in this case, serves as a metaphor for how society often tries to address deep-rooted racial issues with superficial solutions, such as financial compensation or legal reform, without addressing the structural changes needed to create a truly equitable society. Huey, of course, sees through the superficiality of Granddad's lawsuit. For Huey, the issue at hand isn't about getting money from Joe Petto, it's about understanding the larger cultural and historical significance of the N-word. He understands that the real work of justice is not about suing for restitution, but about addressing the systems of oppression that continue to perpetuate racial inequality. Huey's critique of Granddad's actions is a commentary on the limitations of legal solutions to cultural and racial problems. Huey's refusal to participate in the lawsuit reflects his broader philosophy that legal battles and financial compensation are insufficient tools for addressing systemic injustice. Huey's worldview is shaped by his revolutionary beliefs, which prioritize social change and cultural transformation over financial or legal victories. He sees the lawsuit as a distraction from the larger work of racial justice and social reform. In Huey's mind, pursuing monetary compensation for the offense only reinforces the commodification of Black pain and reinforces the idea that financial financial restitution can replace the hard work of challenging racial injustice at its root. Granddad's pursuit of the lawsuit also highlights the generational divide between him and Huey. Granddad, the older generation, is more likely to see legal battles and financial restitution as a means of achieving justice. He has lived through a time when such strategies were seen as effective ways to combat racial inequality. Huey, on the other hand, represents the younger generation, which is more skeptical of the effectiveness of legal battles and more focused on cultural revolution and social change. This generational divide underscores the different ways that race and justice are understood across time and experience.
But Riley Freeman denies he used the N-word first.
He said I used the word before, but I didn't. I wouldn't use that word ever. That word hurts people.
Oh, I remember those proud days, marching with Dr. Martin Luther King. We used to hear that hateful word all the time.
Robert Jebediah Freeman, Riley's grandfather, says the incident takes him back to the civil rights movement.
Oh, what sad times these are, when educators can go around willy-nilly calling our kids the N-word. Me and my boy have suffered tremendous unspecified mental and physical damage from this.
Mr. Pedo claims the version of nigger ending in ger is the racial slur, but that he was using a different version of the word ending in ga that means the same as buddy or best pal. He insists that he was using the friendly version of the N-word to better relate to Riley.
I used the word, I admit it. I thought there was a difference between nigger and nigga. I thought I understood this whole thing, but I guess I don't. I need help. Whenever I hear the rappers, they say, nigga. It's in all the music. Look. Rap songs that use the word nigga in a positive way. There's tons of them. Look, real nigga roll call. Niggas bleed. Jigga my nigga. Niggas for life. Real niggas don't die. Shame on a nigga. Suck a nigga. Ain't no nigga.
The school is investigating the incident, but in the meantime, Mr. Pedo has been put on unpaid leave.
I just couldn't believe it because nobody ever called me a nigga before.
And how did it make you feel?
Like I was less than a person.
The lawsuit also highlights the ways in which media and public opinion shape our perceptions of justice. Joe Pedo, the teacher at the center of the controversy, is not portrayed as a villain in the traditional sense. Instead, he is depicted as a somewhat clueless individual who inadvertently becomes the target of a lawsuit. The media frenzy around the lawsuit shifts the focus from a serious discussion of race and language to a sensationalized legal spectacle. This shift in focus mirrors the ways in which real-world racial issues are often reduced to media spectacles that distract from the deeper structural issues at play. As the episode unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that the pursuit of financial restitution is not a meaningful solution to the larger cultural and racial issues at stake. The legal drama surrounding the lawsuit is, at its core, a satire of society's tendency to address racial problems with legal action and financial compensation, rather than addressing the root causes of inequality. The Boondocks invites viewers to question whether such approaches are truly effective or whether they simply perpetuate the status quo. Granddad's lawsuit ultimately serves as a critique of the commodification of racial pain. In the end, the show suggests that true justice cannot be achieved through financial compensation or legal battles alone. Instead, it calls for a deeper, more meaningful examination of the systems of power that perpetuate racial inequality and the ways in which language, culture, and history intersect in the ongoing struggle for racial justice. The media plays a significant role in the episode, amplifying the voices of those like Joe Pedo while downplaying the perspectives of those affected by the racial harm of the N-word. The media's portrayal of Joe Pedo's suspension encapsulates the idea of white tears in a society where white individuals, particularly those in positions of power, are seen as victims in racial conflicts. Pedo's discomfort with the consequences of his actions shifts the focus from the hurt caused by his use of the N-word to his own personal suffering. This illustrates the tendency for media narratives to center the emotions and perspectives of white individuals, even in racially charged situations where they are the perpetrators. The media's framing of Pedo as the victim shifts the conversation away from a meaningful discussion of race, language, and identity, instead creating a spectacle focused on white fragility. Joe Pedo's public apology, as depicted in the episode, becomes an example of how white tears can be weaponized in an attempt to deflect from the real issues at hand. In the context of racial offenses, particularly those involving black people, white individuals can often find themselves cast in the role of the sympathetic victim. Pedo's tears, an exaggerated symbol of white fragility, are treated by the media as a sign of his innocence, even though the real issue of racial harm is glossed over. The Boondocks cleverly critiques this dynamic by showing how the media elevates white suffering while dismissing the pain of black individuals who are directly affected by systemic racism. In the world of the Boondocks, Joe Pedo is not just a teacher who misused the N-word, he is a symbol of the larger issue of white people being able to retreat into victimhood when confronted with their own ignorance or prejudice. This dynamic is a direct critique of the ways in which media coverage often shifts focus from the harm caused by racist actions to the feelings and narratives of the perpetrators. The show reflects how societal structures often prioritize white voices over those of marginalized communities, especially in conversations about race and inequality. This media victimhood is not just an incidental plot point in the episode, it is a reflection of real-world trends. In actual instances of racial insensitivity or harm, it is not uncommon for the media to give disproportionate attention to the discomfort of white individuals, obscuring the larger racial context of the situation. The idea of white tears is particularly relevant here, as it suggests that the emotions and reactions of white people are often prioritized in these discussions, regardless of the harm that has been done to black individuals. In the case of Pedo, his apology seems sincere, but it lacks any real understanding of the cultural weight of the N-word. His apology is not a reflection of personal growth or accountability, it is a knee-jerk reaction to the consequences of his actions. This response mirrors how, in real life, public figures and institutions may issue apologies not because they truly understand the harm they've caused, but because they want to avoid further scrutiny or backlash. The character of Joe Pedo, while exaggerated for comedic effect, serves as a sharp critique of this tendency. Huey, in contrast to the media's treatment of Joe Pedo, remains adamant that the N-words used by Pedo should not be trivialized or reduced to a matter of personal discomfort. Huey's perspective challenges the media's portrayal of the incident and shifts the conversation back to the cultural significance of the word itself. While Pedo's discomfort with the situation is amplified, the real harm caused by the use of the N-word and its history of oppression is downplayed. Huey's voice of reason reminds viewers that the emotional responses of the oppressor should not take center stage in conversations about racial harm. As Huey sees it, the real issue is not that Joe Pedo is upset, but that his ignorance and misuse of the word have reinforced harmful stereotypes and perpetuated racial injustice. By focusing on the emotional response of the white perpetrator, the media contributes to a culture of avoidance and denial around the real issues of racism and oppression. This dynamic is further emphasized by the framing of the lawsuit as a personal vendetta rather than a call for societal change. The Boondocks masterfully uses satire to demonstrate how easily the media can become complicit in perpetuating these dynamics. Rather than challenging the systemic inequalities that allow racial offenses to occur, the media is more interested in sensationalizing the emotional responses of white people involved in these incidents. This highlights the need for greater accountability and the importance of shifting the focus from white victimhood to the voices and experiences of black people, who are often sidelined in these discussions. The concept of white tears serves as a critique of a society that continually places white comfort above the experiences of people of color. The episode shows how, in cases of racial conflict, it is often the perpetrators, those who have caused harm, who are given the space to express their feelings, while the victims remain unheard. By satirizing this phenomenon, the Boondocks urges viewers to rethink how society handles racial offenses and whether true justice can ever be achieved when the systems in place continue to protect the emotional labor of white people while ignoring the pain of black individuals. Ultimately, the media portrayal of Joe Pedo as a victim of his own actions is a powerful critique of the way race is often framed in American media. It is not enough to acknowledge the discomfort of the perpetrator. The real question is how society addresses the harm caused and whether genuine accountability can be achieved.
Despite news reports to the contrary, my family was handling this particular racial incident quite well.
I can't believe it! I always knew you do something right.
And you know what's crazy?
Oh, yes, you did.
I
Yes, you
didn't
did.
mean to.
What's wrong with you, boy?
Uh-oh, here comes Huey McHater again.
Be happy. Your brother was called a nigger by a white man. Not just any white man. A district employee. Wow, we're rich. It's like winning the lotto.
How?
Restitution. Look at your brother.
Booty dance,
He's
booty dance.
traumatized.
Booty dance, booty dance. Booty dance, booty dance.
Granddad, Riley's doing the celebratory booty dance.
He's traumatized on the inside.
You both say the word nigga all the time.
I do not.
Riley thought it was his name until he was 3.
But that's different. You see, it's okay between us behind closed doors. We flip the word into a term of endearment. That's what I call my homies. You feel me? My nigga. Hey, after a lifetime of being treated like a nigga, if I catch a break off the word, good for me. Shoot, all the years I've been on this earth, you know how many times I've been called a nigga for free? Back in the day when a white man called you a nigga, you couldn't do nothing but go around the corner and cry. But now we can fight back. As a matter of fact, Hello, Tom? Yeah. Whatever. Riley teacher just called him a nigga. We gonna sue the white man. Get over here quick. Did you hear what happened to the last black man who was called a nigga? Huh? Last year, Terrence Kinsley, a 35-year-old Walmart employee, was called a nigga by a supervisor.
So if somebody calls you a nigga, you get a mansion, a yacht, and 2 white women.
Yep, it's the law.
No, it's not.
It is too. It happened to the Walmart guy.
You probably made that up.
I bet you Tom would know. Where is he? Don't take that damn loan to get over here. Tom, hurry up. I'm trying to sue the white man. I need a lawyer, but I don't want to pay, so you have to do.
What I don't understand is that if it's so offensive to them, then why do they say it over and over again?
So Riley said the N-word before you did that morning.
He says it every morning. He calls me nigga. He calls the other kids nigga. He calls himself nigga all the time. Nigga this, nigga that. Nigga please. Bitch nigga, have you lost your mind? Nigga, check that hoe. Nigga, you bullshitting. Break yourself, nigga. He says it so much I don't even notice it anymore. Last week in lunch, Riley says to a classmate, "Can a nigga borrow a French fry?" And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, he said the word, the N-word. It was, now how is a nigga gonna borrow a fry? Nigga, is you gonna give it back? I'm telling you, my inside voice didn't talk like that before he got in my class.
He said I said it first. Man, I'm telling you, I seen the hatred in his eyes the first time I walked in the class. All he saw when he looked at me was a black nigger.
The episode tackles the theme of cultural amnesia, particularly in relation to how the N-word has evolved from a tool of oppression to one of internalized language within Black communities. Cultural amnesia is the tendency to forget or ignore the painful historical roots of certain words and practices. In the case of the N-word, this amnesia is evident in how younger generations like Riley use the word without understanding its true historical weight. For many younger Black individuals, the word has been reappropriated as a term of endearment, rebellion, or camaraderie, distancing it from its origins as a weapon of degradation. However, the Boondocks challenges this reappropriation by showing how such casual usage can obscure the historical significance and continued harm of the word. Riley Freeman's use of the N-word in the episode reflects the ways in which younger generations have internalized language without understanding its broader implications. Riley, like many of his peers, uses the word freely and without regard for its painful history. For Riley, the word is a symbol of his identity, a way to assert his autonomy and express rebellion. However, his casual use of the term reveals a dangerous lack of awareness about the larger social context in which it exists. This is a key aspect of cultural amnesia, where the younger generation becomes disconnected from the past and its lessons. This disconnection from history is further exemplified by the way Riley and his friends use the word without any sense of guilt or responsibility. The word, once a term of dehumanization, has been repurposed as a form of empowerment, but this transformation ignores the fact that the word's origins are rooted in a history of violence, discrimination, and oppression. The Boondocks critiques this internalization of language, suggesting that the casual use of the word is a form of erasure, a refusal to confront the painful truths of the past. The show also highlights how the reappropriation of the N-word can be weaponized. While the word may be used within Black communities as a term of solidarity, when it is used outside of those communities, it can quickly revert to its original meaning, a tool of oppression. In this way, the word becomes a double-edged sword, one that can be used to both empower and oppress, depending on who wields it. The episode asks whether it is possible to reclaim the word without losing sight of its history, or whether this reclamation is itself a form of cultural amnesia. Huey's stance on the N-word reflects his belief that cultural amnesia is a dangerous form of denial. For Huey, the word's history cannot be forgotten no matter how much it may be reappropriated. He understands that by erasing the word's painful past, the younger generation is allowing themselves to become complicit in the perpetuation of racial harm. Huey's refusal to engage with the word in the way that Riley does is an act of resistance against cultural amnesia, and a reminder that the past is always with us, even when we choose to forget it. The episode also critiques the commodification of the word, particularly how it has been marketed and commercialized in mainstream culture. Rap music, for example, has played a significant role in both reclaiming and spreading the use of the N-word. While some argue that the word's use in hip-hop is a form of empowerment, the Boondocks questions whether this reappropriation can truly undo the harm caused by its use throughout history. The episode suggests that language, like culture, can be co-opted for profit, further complicating the issue of reclamation. The commodification of the N-word in popular culture reflects a larger trend of turning painful histories into profitable commodities. The word, once a symbol of subjugation, has been transformed into a brand, an item for consumption, especially within the music industry. This transformation is a reflection of how society often capitalizes on the pain of marginalized groups, turning their suffering into a product for mass consumption without ever addressing the underlying injustices that caused that pain in the first place. By focusing on the word's reappropriation, the Boondocks critiques the ways in which society has become numb to the painful history of the N-word. The episode asks whether it is possible to truly reclaim the word without acknowledging the harm it has caused and continues to cause. It highlights the dangers of cultural amnesia and urges viewers to confront the painful history behind the words we use and the ways we use them. Ultimately, the episode shows that language is not neutral, it is shaped by history, culture, and power. The N-word, with all its complexities, serves as a reminder that words are not just tools for communication, they are deeply embedded in systems of oppression and resistance. The Boondocks challenges us to rethink our relationship with language and to acknowledge the ways in which cultural amnesia can obscure the painful legacies that words like the N-word carry. Huey Freeman acts as the philosophical anchor of the episode, offering a sharp, revolutionary perspective that contrasts with the chaos around him. As always, Huey is grounded in history, theory, and justice. While the rest of the town is caught up in spectacle and opportunism, Huey remains focused on what truly matters, the misuse of language and the social systems that allow ignorance to flourish. He is not concerned with lawsuits, apologies, or performative outrage. Huey wants to dismantle the root of the problem. From the moment Granddad decides to sue the school, Huey makes it clear that the motivation is not justice but greed. He sees through the thin veil of righteousness that Robert tries to wear and calls out the selfishness driving the legal action. Huey is not dismissing the wrong done by pedo, rather, he is rejecting the idea that a cash settlement will solve the deeper problem of systemic racism or the misuse of the N-word. Huey's character operates as a critique of performative activism. In this episode, the lawsuit symbolizes how people often use moments of racial injustice as opportunities for personal gain, rather than catalysts for real change. Huey, ever the realist, understands that justice cannot be bought, and that court victories do little to address generational trauma and cultural ignorance. His resistance is a call to go deeper, to push for change that is transformative, not transactional. Throughout the episode, Huey remains the only character who resists the mainstream media's narrative. While the town, and especially Granddad, is swept up in the attention, Huey remains skeptical of the media's framing and the town's priorities. He points out the absurdity of focusing on pedo's punishment while ignoring the deeper racial and historical context that makes his offense so significant. Huey's clarity in a sea of confusion underscores his role as the show's moral and intellectual compass. Huey also challenges the binary logic of GA versus ER. Joe Pedo's weak defense that there is a difference between the two words is immediately dismantled by Huey's deeper understanding of how both stem from the same historical root of anti-blackness. For Huey, the problem isn't just semantics, it's the mindset that believes language can be detached from the power structures that gave it meaning in the first place. In a society obsessed with optics and damage control, Huey's refusal to accept surface-level solutions is radical. He's not interested in apologies that don't come with accountability or lawsuits that don't come with a real interrogation of power and privilege. His stance forces viewers to confront their own complacency. Are we addressing racism to create change, or are we just trying to make ourselves feel better? Huey's critiques also extend to black communities who, in his eyes, sometimes fall into the trap of emotional reaction without structural understanding. He loves his people, but he demands more from them, more knowledge, more awareness, and more courage to address the harder truths. His disappointment with Granddad isn't personal, it's political. It represents his frustration with those who are willing to sell out the movement for a paycheck. This idealism doesn't make Huey inflexible, it makes him principled. Even when it costs him the support of his family or isolates him from the rest of the town, he stands firm in his beliefs. Huey shows that true revolution requires discipline, integrity, and a refusal to compromise with systems that are designed to exploit you. He is the embodiment of revolutionary black thought, from Malcolm X to Angela Davis. Huey's role in the episode is a reminder that understanding race and language requires more than emotion. It requires study, reflection, and action. He isn't perfect, and he doesn't always get through to those around him, but that doesn't deter him. He continues to resist, educate, and push back because he understands what's at stake. The future of black liberation depends on voices like his. By the end of the episode, even though his advice is ignored and the world continues turning, Huey remains steadfast. He represents the long game, the fight for justice that doesn't end with one lawsuit or one episode. In the landscape of the Boondocks, Huey Freeman stands alone but also stands tall as the revolutionary voice we all need to hear. Riley Freeman represents a different kind of response to the N-word, one rooted in generational conditioning, media influence, and cultural repetition. For Riley, the N-word is not a racial slur, it's a part of his everyday vocabulary. It rolls off his tongue as naturally as bro or dude. This casual use of the word reveals a cultural gap between generations and highlights how language, over time, can lose its historical weight in the eyes of youth. Riley's world is shaped by hip-hop, social media, and urban culture. In that world, the N-word has been transformed into a term of endearment, a greeting, or even a punchline. He doesn't see it as a weapon because, in his experience, it hasn't been used as one. But this disconnect is exactly what makes his character so crucial. He reflects a generation that inherited a legacy of pain without fully understanding it. This is not to say Riley is ignorant, he is a product of his environment. The language he uses is learned, repeated, and reinforced by the world around him. Music, television, and peer culture all normalize the word to the point that questioning it feels unnecessary. Riley doesn't see a problem with the N-word because no one in his immediate world has challenged its usage with any historical or moral urgency. His response to Joe Petto's offense is telling. Riley isn't shocked or angry that Petto said the N-word, he's confused about why it's a big deal. To him, it's just another word. This detachment illustrates a phenomenon known as cultural repetition, where patterns of behavior and language are repeated without reflection. Riley is repeating what he hears, but he isn't connecting it to its source, and that's dangerous. The episode critiques this normalization by showing how quickly the word can switch from casual to confrontational. When used by someone outside the community, especially someone white, the word suddenly reverts to its original intent. Riley might say the N-word to his friends, but when Petto says it, the context changes entirely. That shift reveals how fragile the reappropriation of the word really is. Riley's character forces viewers to ask uncomfortable questions. Can a word that was born in hate ever be truly reclaimed? If younger generations don't know the history behind the word, are they empowering themselves or perpetuating the very systems that oppress them? The Boondocks doesn't provide easy answers, but it does push the conversation forward. The relationship between Riley and Huey is central to this tension. Huey tries to educate, warn, and correct, but Riley resists. He sees Huey as out of touch, too serious, too woke. This dynamic reflects a real-world divide between older and younger black thinkers. Huey wants revolution, Riley just wants to be cool. That generational clash mirrors a broader cultural debate about tradition, modernity, and the role of language and identity. Despite his immaturity, Riley is not without complexity. His use of the N-word is both a sign of internalized oppression and a survival tactic. In a world that devalues black life, claiming the word might feel like taking back control, but control without consciousness is a hollow victory. Riley's journey shows that without education and awareness, even resistance can become a performance. The episode doesn't vilify Riley, it presents him as a mirror. He reflects where we are culturally and forces us to consider where we're headed. If language can shape consciousness, then the casual use of a historically violent word may shape a generation that's disconnected from its own history. Riley is charming, funny, and relatable, but he is also a cautionary tale. By the end of the episode, Riley hasn't changed. He hasn't learned a lesson or undergone some dramatic transformation, and that's the point. The Boondocks suggest that unless we intervene, unless we educate and challenge cultural repetition, nothing will change. Riley's generation deserves better, but it will take more than just outrage to guide them toward awareness. Joe Petto is the embodiment of the clueless, performative white liberal who thinks he understands black culture, but misses the mark completely. His defense that there's a difference between GA and ER is not only absurd but offensive in its ignorance. Pedo believes that by mimicking the vernacular of black youth, he's being progressive or even inclusive, when in fact he's trivializing centuries of trauma. What makes Joe Pedo's character so powerful is that he's not a malicious racist. He's not yelling slurs at protesters or burning crosses. He's smiling, he's well-meaning, he's trying. And that's precisely what makes his type of ignorance so dangerous. It's hidden behind a veneer of wokeness. Pedo doesn't think he did anything wrong, and worse, he expects to be applauded for his cultural understanding. Pedo's comments on live TV reveal a level of detachment from reality that is disturbingly common. He tells reporters he hears kids use the word all the time and assumed it was okay. His logic reflects the larger cultural problem, the belief that proximity to blackness grants permission to emulate it. Pedo doesn't understand the deep social and emotional weight that comes with the word. He only sees what's on the surface. Even more troubling is Pedo's lack of remorse. His apology is robotic, clearly coerced by the school and legal system and devoid of real reflection. This highlights how institutions often prioritize damage control over genuine accountability. Pedo isn't being educated, he's being managed. And once the cameras are off, the lesson hasn't been learned. The absurdity of Pedo's explanation satirizes the kind of color-blind thinking that claims intention matters more than impact. He doesn't see himself as racist because he didn't mean it that way. But racism isn't just about intent, it's about the structures and histories that give words their power. Pedo's failure to grasp this is what makes his ignorance so infuriating. Joe Pedo also represents the institutional failure of the education system. As a teacher, he should understand the importance of language, history, and context, yet he is blind to the very subjects he's supposed to be teaching. His presence in the classroom is a reminder that ignorance isn't just personal, it can be systemic, baked into the very schools that are supposed to be raising the next generation. His interaction with Riley is especially telling. Pedo's attempt to bond with Riley by using the N-word shows how superficial his understanding of culture truly is. He reduces black identity to slang and bravado, not realizing that these expressions often stem from pain and resistance. In trying to connect, he only widens the divide. Pedo's ignorance is made even worse by his audacity. He doesn't just make a mistake, he defends it, rationalizes it, and even tries to make himself the victim. He's shocked that people are upset. He doesn't understand why they're overreacting. This entitlement is what makes his character so realistic. It reflects how many white individuals weaponize innocence to escape accountability. Yet, despite everything, Pedo is not demonized. The Boondocks uses him to critique, not to cancel. His character is an invitation for viewers to reflect on their own biases, their own missteps, and how easy it is to think you get it when you really don't. The goal isn't to punish Pedo, it's to expose him, and through that exposure, encourage a deeper conversation about complicity. Ultimately, Joe Pedo serves as a foil to Huey. Where Huey is thoughtful, Pedo is clueless. Where Huey is driven by justice, Pedo is driven by convenience. The contrast between them sharpens the episode's message. Awareness takes effort, and in a world where ignorance is easy, being truly informed is revolutionary.
I don't know if you have much of a case, Robert. The guy just seems kinda dumb. And he's already apologized.
Damn it! I want to get paid! I'm gonna call a press conference.
About what?
I don't know, but I'm calling one. You got the wrong man. That's what you did. You messed with the wrong brother. What's the number to a press conference?
No, I don't think we should use the word, and I'll tell you why. Because niggas have gotten used to it, that's why. Hell, they like it now. It's like when you growing crops and you strip the soil of its nutrients and goodness, and then you can't grow nothing. You gotta rotate your race of slurs. Now, I know it's hard, cause nigga just rolled off the tongue the way sweat rolls off a nigga's forehead. But we cannot let that be a crutch, especially when there are so many other fine substitutes. Spade, porch monkey, jigaboo. I say next time you gon' call a darky a nigga, call that coon a jungle bunny instead.
So in conclusion, we don't want to try this case in the press, no. And let's remember that the victim is a young child, so let's be respectful. Thank you.
Okay, that was very sucky, Tom. My name is Robert Freeman, and I have a lot of things I would like to say about this. Number one, this is the most ridiculous thing.
Wait 1 minute. I'd like to add something
brother.
if I could, Brother Freeman. I have a message for the Woodcrest School District.
Bravo, good love. What's that two-bit hustler doing here?
You have assaulted this fine family's dignity. You have assassinated their pride, and you have hurt their feelings. Now, somebody gonna pay.
I could have said that.
Now, we demand the school offer an apology to Riley Freeman, to Robert Freeman, to the ghost of Martin Luther King, and an apology to me, Reverend Rollo Goodlove, star of the upcoming BET show, My Dad Rollo. And we also demand that the offending teacher be terminated immediately, so he can no longer spread his hateful bigotry. And finally, we demand that the Freeman family be compensated for the extreme distress throughout this difficult period. Have mercy.
Speak, my brother. Speak. Woo! Assalamu alaikum.
Now, I'm telling you now, if these demands aren't met, ooh, glory. They got to pay.
That's
Let
right.
them pay. Let them pay. That's
The idea of restitution is central to the episode's conflict. Granddad sees the lawsuit against Joe Petto and the school as a chance to be financially compensated for the harm done to Riley, but Huey sees something different, a distortion of justice. The episode uses this debate to explore what restitution really means and whether financial settlements can ever balance out the scales of historical oppression. From Granddad's perspective, restitution is simple. Someone did wrong, now they have to pay. It's not just about the word, it's about centuries of disrespect, violence, and inequality that black people have suffered. In his mind, if the system finally wants to pay him back for all that injustice, even through a lawsuit over a slur, he'll take it. His logic is emotionally understandable, but philosophically flawed. Huey, on the other hand, challenges this idea of transactional justice. He believes that true restitution cannot be reduced to a dollar amount. A cash payout may soothe the ego or offer short-term relief, but it does nothing to address the underlying systems that allow racism to persist. Huey argues that turning racism into a payday risks turning pain into profit, and that's dangerous. The episode cleverly critiques the commodification of trauma. Granddad isn't motivated by principle, he's motivated by a potential windfall. He sees an opportunity and pounces, even if it means using Riley as a pawn. The lawsuit becomes a hustle, and while the hustle is part of survival in a racist system, the Boondocks pushes us to question what is lost in the process. There's also an important conversation here about who benefits from restitution. Is it the individual or the community? If Granddad wins money, it doesn't change anything for other black children in that school, or for the next teacher who thinks using the N-word is acceptable. Restitution in this case is isolated, it helps one man, not the movement. The legal system itself comes under fire. The courtroom becomes a circus where real issues are buried under theatrics, legal jargon, and PR games. The focus is no longer on what's right or wrong, it's on what can be proved or dismissed. This mirrors how the legal system often fails to deliver true justice, especially for marginalized communities. Restitution, the episode argues, should be about repair, not reward. It should involve education, reform, and reconciliation, not just settlements and silence. By reducing justice to money, we risk reinforcing the very hierarchies we claim to oppose. We cannot buy our way out of systemic racism. Granddad's desire for restitution is not mocked, though. It is portrayed as valid but misdirected. He is, after all, a man who has lived through a lot. His motivations are shaped by survival and frustration. The episode doesn't condemn him, it critiques the system that leaves him with so few options. Huey offers a different vision. He sees restitution as a communal process rooted in truth-telling, structural change, and collective healing. It's not easy and it doesn't come with a check, but it's real, and it's the only kind of justice that can truly last. In the end, the episode leaves us with the hard truth. Restitution is more than a settlement, it's a reckoning. And until we're willing to do the deeper work, we'll keep mistaking punishment for progress and payment for peace.
Hell, we might not even have a country if it wasn't for the word nigger. White man said, nigger, pick that cotton. Nigger, bale that hay. Hurry up, nigger. That's America you building. And that's exactly what nigger is. It's an American original.
Don't listen to him, Granddad. He just wants to use us to give press for a stupid sitcom on BET.
Or maybe I'm using my stupid sitcom to get you some press, boy.
But you're not.
Or am I?
No.
Or yes. So what I'm doing is marshaling all the resources I have available to me to ensure that justice is served.
And, Thumara, how much justice do you think we can get?
I would say about $500,000.
Whoa!
$500,000? What? Ooh, boy.
That's ridiculous. You'll never get that much from the school district. They don't have that kind of money.
Oh no, they got tons of money, shoot. They keep it for themselves, though. They buy themselves private jets and hookers and stuff like that. Your kids eating tater tots and skillet sensations while they eating lobster.
You see, Tom, they're a bunch of crooks.
Oh, so that makes it okay to extort them.
Extort? Extort? Is that what you call the freedom struggle, brother? I suppose you think affirmative action is extortion too, huh?
Now what in the Sam Hill are you...
You know what? You making me nervous. Very nervous, brother.
Tom, you're fired.
What? I was doing you a favor.
I'm sorry, Tom.
He's not even a lawyer.
Tommy, let's not make this harder than it has to be.
Stupid dummy heads. Rollo's perm's not even right.
He gonna cry when he get home.
Okay, so what do we do first?
Oh, we gonna pay a little visit to the superintendent. Now, this deal includes damages to the Freemans, plus a very generous donation to the Reverend Rollo Goodlove Jambalaya of Justice League. Have mercy.
Hey, come here. Look at this. This nigga must be crazy.
Okay then. So I'll just wait for your response then. Okay, hallelujah, mission accomplished. Time for step 2.
What happened? Did they give you the money?
Yeah, they thinking about it. Just come on. Now, I think it's wrong for anybody to use the word nigga at any time. Excuse me, hold on. Hey, Jesse, what's happening, my nigga?
The problem with restraining speech is who gets to set the rules. If it's only okay in a certain time or place, who gets to say what time and what place? Bill Cosby?
But yes, as a matter of fact, I get to set the rules about what is appropriate to say and what is not appropriate to say. For example, the other day a youth walked up to me and said, "What it do?" He sounded like he was auditioning for a slave epic. Proper way to say that sentence is, "What does it do?" I personally blame the mother.
Okay, 20 seconds until we are on the air.
Granddad, please stop this now.
Shush, boy.
Hey, you think they can introduce me as Young Reezy?
Both of y'all better just sit there and look sad. I'm gonna do all the talking.
Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3...
We are back. My guests this evening are Reverend Rollo Goodlove, activist, presidential candidate, and star of the upcoming BET sitcom My Dad Rollo. With him are Robert, Huey, and Riley Freeman. They are the family at the center of this controversy. Let me ask you, why does that word still have so much power?
Well, Larry King...
That's a very good question. Which reminds me of an upcoming episode we did on My Dad Rollo, which premieres next month on Black Entertainment Television, thank you. Matter of fact, I brought a clip of it if you'd like to see it.
Sure thing. If we have it ready, let's go to the clip.
Honey, I'm home. Hey, have the kids found jobs and moved out yet? Hey there, Trudy.
Granddad, this is childish.
Don't think cause I'm on Larry King Live I will whip your little asses. Cause it will.
That's very funny stuff.
We have a wonderful cast, and they work so very hard every day, and the writers give us fantastic material.
So now, about this incident.
What incident you talking about? All right. Oh, Larry. You got to feel me on this, man. I can't even tell you what these brothers have suffered through this past week. Oh, yes, brothers. This is a great victory.
I ain't even get a chance to talk. I had a funny anecdote and everything.
They feeling the heat right about now. I'm telling you.
I stayed up all night practicing that damn anecdote. Next time, I get to talk first and you talk second.
Oh, nigga, shush.
we're back with my guest columnist, Ann Coulter. So, Ann, what do you make of this whole N-word controversy in Woodcrest?
I think it's criminal they suspended this teacher. Why? I mean, because he stood up to some foul-mouthed gang member?
Gang member.
They should be giving him a medal. Give me a break. It's about time someone in the classroom had the guts to not back down to thugs like that. I mean, you know?
Did she just call me a thug?
She sure did.
Yeah.
Oh, that Ann Coulter show pull your card, didn't she? Now that is one sharp, sexy white woman. She looked just like Helen of Troy. I don't care how big her out-of-mouth balloon. She's still all woman.
This is terrible. We're losing the PR war.
Relax, brother. It's all part of the plan. And it's right on time.
I'm joined via satellite by best-selling author and columnist Ann Coulter, author of Fucking Camel Jockeys and the Liberals Who Smell Like Them. I'm also joined by Reverend Rollo Goodlove, star of the upcoming BET sitcom My Dad Rollo, and author of the book Real Spit from Rollo. And finally by Robert Freeman and his grandchildren. I want to start with Ann.
Excuse me, I also have a book. It's not out yet. I actually just started writing it, but I do have a cover, so I put it on another book, so here's what it's gonna look like. It's called They Call Me Nigger, One Family Struggle for Justice and Freedom. And it's written by me and about me, and it's very inspirational. So when it comes out, remember that you saw this and buy it. I don't know what I'm gonna charge for it yet. I might charge $20, $25. Anyway, TiVo this if you have the TiVo and play it back when the book comes out to remind yourself to go buy it. Thank you.
Okay, I want to start with Ann.
And so Ann Coulter and Rollo Goodlove argued on TV.
Oh, what a surprise. Here we go again with affirmative action. Let's have a different set of rules for blacks. So this little hoodlum can say the N-word whenever
Now,
he
wait a
wants.
minute.
But it's this
I take
teacher.
offense at your description of Riley as a hoodlum, and I don't appreciate it.
This
is a wonderful
teacher,
child.
because he's white, because of the color of his skin, he's being persecuted for saying the exact same word. I mean, I think that is racist.
Nothing much was resolved, but they did it again.
Next, they'll be throwing white kids in jail for reciting rap lyrics. I mean, where should this stop?
You better read the secret.
And again.
Okay, here's a novel idea. I think if black people don't want to be called the N-word, they shouldn't call themselves the N-word. Just like if they don't want the police to pull them over, they shouldn't be driving stolen cars.
How dare you?
How many of these damn TV shows are we supposed to do, good love? Have they called you about that damn money?
Man, not since you asked me about 20 minutes ago, Robert.
Well, don't you think we should have heard something by now?
Baby, can
I don't care. I don't care.
Baby,
I don't care. I don't care.
Is that...
Oh, now there she is.
Don't give me that baby listen shit, motherfucker. You think I'm stupid? I know you fucking that bitch, okay? I know you are. I mean, I don't play that shit. And don't play that shit. Rollo, hey, baby.
Hey.
Come here, give me some of that sugar,
You
daddy.
get a little thick back there, ain't you, girl? And how you doing, Abdul?
Damn, Abdul, can you let a bitch work? Shit, one of us has to. It ain't like yo ass is going to get a job. You know I had to bail this motherfucker out of jail again, right? Must be like the 10th time. So anyway, the school board pay you yet?
No. We still waiting. They ain't broke that bread yet. But, any day now.
Hey guys, so nice to finally meet. It's been great working with y'all. Hello? That bitch must have lost her mind. I will smack the black off her. I will snatch the weave off that bitch.
Ann
That
Coulter.
bitch knows
She crazy as hell, ain't she? But she good people, though. She good people.
So this whole time, you guys have been working together?
Yeah, silly. I told you I had it covered.
I'm confused.
Me too. I thought Ann Coulter hated everybody.
Who, Ann? No, man. She just do that to get that redneck money. Let me tell you something about Ann. When a nigga need a nemesis, she helps me out, and I help her back. She a down-ass bitch.
These crab cakes are good as a mug. I fucks with these crab cakes. I'm tearing these bad boys up.
So are you even a Republican?
Hell no. You think I like going out there and saying this ridiculous shit?
So then why do it?
'Cause a bitch got books to sell, that's why. Ain't no money in trying to save the world.
We need Anne in makeup.
All I know is they better not stop this war in Iraq, or I might have to start stripping.
And in Woodcrest tonight, the school board has finally decided on the fate of an elementary school teacher accused of using the N-word. Third-grade teacher Joe Petto was given 10 days unpaid leave and ordered to take sensitivity training.
What? Oh, man, that's some old bullshit.
That's it? What about my money?
So, what about Rollo Goodlove's demand for financial restitution to the Freeman family?
You mean we did all this for nothing?
Sorry, guys. We tried our best. You'll get him next time.
Hey, Abdul, I see you over there talking to that white bitch. You ain't slick.
Wait. That's it? We don't get nothing?
That's a damn shame you can call a nigga and keep your job. That's a damn shame.
Come on, boys. Let's get the hell out of here. We don't need this shit.
Oh, calm down, Robert, now. We ain't out of this yet. I could make one phone call and we'll have 24 protesters with picket signs in the street tomorrow.
Really?
Hey, now, $20 and a Lunchable can motivate a whole lot of activism, brother.
Oh, you think that'll make them pay us?
A fake protest? Granddad, you can't go around hustling controversy for profit.
Why not?
You're messing with forces you can't control, Granddad.
I'm telling you, Robert, they are on the ropes, man. We just gotta apply a little more pressure.
Granddad, you're not getting paid. Just let it go.
Nah, I think maybe Huey's right. Yep, I think I'm done. Come on, boys. I guess I was wrong about the mansion and the white women. I miss those flat butts.
Well, fine then. More money for me. Hello, Chauncey. Hey, now, Chauncey, you them extras ready for the protest, man? Nah, them niggas don't get no dinner, just lunch. A bowls.
The Boondocks has always wielded satire like a sharp sword, deliberate and unrelenting. In the S-word, satire becomes a powerful mechanism to dissect not only racism, but the performance surrounding it. Every character in the episode is exaggerated in some way, not to mock them, but to expose the absurdity of how society responds to racism, language, and justice. The genius of this episode is in how it refuses to let any group off the hook. Joe Petto represents clueless white liberals. Granddad symbolizes opportunism wrapped in trauma. Riley is the embodiment of cultural desensitization, and the media, portrayed as sensationalist and hollow, feeds on black pain for ratings. Each of these exaggerated portrayals is rooted in real-life dynamics, making the comedy hit uncomfortably close to home. Satire is particularly effective here because it forces the audience to laugh and then think. When Petto defends his use of the N-word by differentiating GA from ER, it's absurd, but it also reflects how some people actually rationalize harmful language. The laughter becomes a gateway to deeper understanding. It's not about making light of racism, it's about exposing how ridiculous and entrenched racism can be. The courtroom scenes especially are pure satire gold. The judge, the lawyers, and even Granddad treat the lawsuit like a TV game show. The trial becomes a spectacle rather than a moment of accountability. This satirical portrayal mirrors real-world cases where justice is overshadowed by theatrics and sound bites. The system isn't built to heal, it's built to entertain. Even the townspeople are caught up in the performative outrage. Their protest signs, their chants, their sudden interest in civil rights, it's all superficial. Once the news cycle moves on, so will they. Satire here reveals the fickle nature of public outrage, especially in the age of viral moments and short attention spans. Huey, notably, is the only character who isn't exaggerated. He is the eye of the storm, the voice of calm in the madness. This contrast makes his perspective even more powerful. While everyone else spirals, he remains grounded, highlighting how true insight often exists outside the spectacle. His seriousness is not mocked, it's honored. The episode also satirizes the way institutions respond to racism. The school's decision to suspend Petto is less about justice and more about liability. They aren't addressing the root problem, they're protecting their brand. This mirrors real-life institutions that issue apologies, donate money, and post black squares on social media, but rarely enact meaningful change. Perhaps the most biting satire comes from how easily black suffering is turned into content. News anchors interview Riley like a celebrity, asking him about his trauma as if it's a soundbite. The commodification of pain becomes a central theme. Black people aren't just fighting oppression, they're fighting to not be turned into a headline, a lawsuit, or a meme. But the Boondocks doesn't stop at criticism, it offers insight. Through its humor, it reveals that real justice isn't performative. It's not viral, it's slow, uncomfortable, and often invisible. Satire, then, becomes a tool of resistance. By laughing at the lie, the show points us toward the truth. In the end, satire is not just how the Boondocks tells its story, it's why the show matters. It disarms us with humor, then hits us with hard truths. In TheSWord, the laughter is real, but so is the message, and if you're really listening, you'll leave the episode changed. TheSWord stands as one of the Boondocks' most provocative and insightful episodes. It takes a single word, a word so loaded with history, pain, and complexity, and uses it as a lens to explore everything from personal responsibility to systemic failure. Few shows are bold enough to tackle the N-word head on. The Boondocks doesn't just tackle it, it deconstructs it, layer by layer. At its core, this episode isn't just about language, it's about power. Who gets to say what? Who gets to define meaning? Who pays the price when words are weaponized? These questions reverberate far beyond the episode itself, echoing in classrooms, workplaces, and communities across the country. The conversation is far from over and the Boondocks knows it.
This is a Channel 5 News Update. That was the scene earlier today in front of the Woodcrest School District headquarters during a protest being held by Rollo Goodlove. Stacey Renee is on the scene.
Bob, what Rollo Goodlove didn't know was that the Sisters of the Second Amendment had scheduled a completely unrelated protest right across the street.
We reserved this spot 3 months ago, and that black nigger came and stole our press with whatever bullshit he's protesting over there. Oh, but we have something for that ass. That's the way. That's it. We don't want to have to shoot.
Oh, man, that ended badly, didn't it?
And not only did they shoot at us, they referred to us as the N-word several times. And we definitely intend to make them pay, damn it.
Wait a minute. I'll bet those old brawls are rolling in money. He's gonna get rich for sure. Damn it, boy, that's the last time I'm gonna listen to you. I could have been shot at and caught a nigga on TV. But no, I had to listen to you. You blockhead.
Well, one thing's for sure. I've learned my lesson. I'm never, ever gonna say any form of nigger. I'm cured of that. No nigga, no nyaka, with the YU sound, not even the abbreviated my nig, none. No more nigger,
And that's why I'm pushing for a constitutional amendment that would protect the white man's right to say any incarnation of the word nigger at any time, spell any way, whether it be N-I-G-G-U-H, G-G-A, G-G-A-H, or a silent P at the beginning of it, without fear of persecution or litigation.
I don't think black people should ever use racist words when describing other black people. And if you do, then you're a sample and a clue.
The legacy of the S-word is its refusal to simplify. It doesn't offer easy answers or clear villains. Instead, it asks the audience to wrestle with discomfort, contradiction, and complexity. In doing so, it respects the intelligence of its viewers and challenges them to think critically about race, justice, and identity in America. This episode also showcases why the Boondocks has remained culturally relevant. It's fearless. It doesn't pander or preach. It confronts uncomfortable truths with honesty and wit. And in a media landscape often afraid to offend, that kind of courage is rare and necessary. One of the most important takeaways from the episode is that conversations about race must go deeper. Peto's mistake wasn't just a slip of the tongue, it was a symptom of a broader ignorance that exists in society. Until we address the systems that allow that ignorance to persist, we'll keep having the same conversations over and over again. Huey's role as the conscience of the episode reminds us that progress doesn't come from outrage alone. It comes from education, solidarity, and a commitment to change. His voice may be drowned out by the noise of lawsuits and headlines, but it lingers. It asks us to be better, to know more, to do more. Riley's arc or lack thereof is equally telling. His unchanged attitude is a warning. If we don't intervene, if we don't teach history and context, then we risk raising generations who repeat the past without understanding it. His character may be funny, but his ignorance has real consequences. Granddad's pursuit of restitution reveals how desperation can sometimes lead us to make compromises. His intentions weren't entirely selfish, but they weren't rooted in justice either. His story is a reflection of how trauma, when left unaddressed, can be exploited, not just by others, but by ourselves. And Joe Petto, he walks away with a slap on the wrist and a vague sense of confusion. That's reality. Racism, especially when it's subtle or unintentional, rarely sees real consequences, but the episode doesn't let that be the end. Instead, it leaves us with a challenge. What are we gonna do? In the final moments, the laughter fades and the questions remain. That's the power of the Boondocks. It doesn't just entertain, it ignites. The S-word forces us to confront the language we use, the systems we uphold, and the silence we allow. And if we're willing to face those truths, maybe, just maybe, we'll find a way forward.